exercise, says EC.
Poultry Farmers Association call for daily consumption of eggs for nutritional benefits.
Ghana Health Service strengthens surveillance at health facilities to detect cholera cases.
And students of Rhodes University in South Africa arrested following anti-rape protests.
Hello, good evening, and thanks so much for joining us. This is News Hour coming to you live on your own news channel GBC24 and GTV. My name is Akbene Avo Ajaja.
And my name is Selike Makola Chiapalu. Many thanks for joining us. In our news story today, the Electoral Commission says it is ready to carry out the 10-day limited voter registration exercise scheduled to start from the 28th of this month to the 8th of May.
According to the Ashanti Regional Director of the EC, Mrs. Rebo Kwaku, the Commission has the required logistics and resources. The Ashanti Regional Director of the Electoral Commission, Mr. Sribo Kwaku, took the participants through the CI91 that has replaced the CI72. He stressed the need for the media as key partners in democratic governance to be abreast of the rules and regulations governing the conduct of elections in Ghana. Mr. Kwaku said the media can call elections in the process of voting but cannot declare results, as declaration of results is the sole responsibility of the Electoral Commission.
The weak side of the media needs to be addressed before the general elections this year. You can call results, but you cannot become the Electoral Commission that this one has won, this one has lost. For all you know, you may not have the right information. So if you declare somebody as winner and the commission comes out with different winner, you know the confusion that you would have caused the state.
The Ashanti Regional Director of the Electoral Commission, Mr. Sribo Kwaku, said registration of voters as contained in the CI91 shall continue for those who will attain the voting age of 18, and that limited registration shall be conducted occasionally to capture people who by some reasons could not take advantage of the limited registration and the continuous registration to get their names in the voters register. To avoid interference in limited registration and voting processes, only accredited EC officials shall be permitted to access such designated centers. The journalists urged the EC to ensure that media personnel who will cover the elections are offered the opportunity to be part of the special voters.
And to the Bono-Ahafo region, the University of Energy and Natural Resources in the region has launched a 10-year endowment fund. The Bono-Ahafo Regional Minister, Mr. Eric Opoku, said the university needs to be supported and to be given the major role it plays in providing the manpower needs of the energy sector.
It was established 6 years ago. It is a public-funded institution that aims to harness human resources for the energy and natural resources sector. In line with its objectives, the university has launched a 10-year strategic plan and endowment fund that seeks to raise the institution's level to achieve its stated vision in a cost-effective manner. The Bono-Ahafo Regional Minister, Eric Opoku, said it is important for the nation to maximize exploitation of its natural resources, and the University of Energy and Natural Resources has a role to play in achieving this objective.
This is a strategic university, and we have to do things differently. We have to make sure that we demonstrate to the whole nation and the world that we are able to implement all the issues, all the ideas, that the targets that we set for ourselves. So in this case, we will be contributing towards the fund, and we will be monitoring the implementation of the plan.
The Pro-Vice Chancellor of UENR, Professor Obeng Ofori, said the plan is in 3 phases, namely the immediate, which stretches from 2016 to 2020, medium, also from 2020 to 2023, and the final, covering 2023 to 2026 period, consists of short, medium, and long-term plans within a 10-year frame, which is 2016 to 2026. He said the areas that form the basis of the plan include human resource, a culture of excellence, infrastructure development, staff and student welfare, and financial performance. The chairman of the university's endowment fund and dean of the School of Engineering, Professor Nana Kwesi, disclosed that the $10 million fund is to be raised within 10 years. At a fundraising ceremony to raise 1 million Ghana cedis, the Minister for Local Government and Rural Development, Collins Dauda, made a contribution, while the Doma Hene, Osiadio Yoajiman Bedu, and the Doma Central Municipal Assembly pledged 10,000 Ghana cedis each to the fund. The university's administration also plans to contribute 100,000 Ghana cedis each year to the fund for the next 10 years.
The Asante Hene Otumfuo 82 has appealed to the public, especially politicians, to preserve and sustain national peace and stability before, during and after this year's general elections. Otumfuo 82 was speaking at the First Congregation of Christ Apostolic University College in Kumasi. The Christ Apostolic University College started as a Bible training center in 1973 at Bantama in Kumasi with 15 students for a 2-year diploma in theology. The college went through structural reforms and later upgraded to a university college. It currently has a student population of 989. At the school's first congregation, the Asante Hene Otumfuo said the content of programs at tertiary institutions should include entrepreneurship training to equip graduates with employable skills.
As you pick your certificates, you have to bear in mind that the certificate does not guarantee your excellence in your chosen field, but such attributes as commitment, hard work, honesty, perseverance, sacrifice, loyalty, etc. should be exhibited to make you complete and appreciated at your workplace. So,
a former rector of the Ghana Institute of Management and Professional Administration, GIMPA, Professor Stephen Adair, said the curriculum of most training institutions does not respond to the needs and demands of industry as well as the labor market. He said polytechnics must be properly resourced to enable them produce the skilled technical manpower needed instead of being converted to universities. The Chancellor of the University College, Apostle Dr. SNK Amwini, said the university has instituted a scholarship scheme for members of the church who gain admission to pursue further studies.
And back here in the capital, a former special representative to the United Nations Secretary General for Liberia, Ms. Karen Landgren, says reviews on the peacekeeping operations of the UN suggest that conflicts by their nature continue to change, and as such the world body should also change in its response mechanisms. Ms. Landgren was delivering this year's Kofi Annan Dag Hammarskjöld annual lectures at the Kofi Annan Peacekeeping Center here in Accra.
Born on the 29th of July 1905 in South Central Sweden, Dag Hammarskjöld became Secretary General of the United Nations from 10th April 1953 until his death in a plane crash in September 1961. Mr. Kofi Annan, a Ghanaian diplomat, was the 7th Secretary General of the United Nations and served from 1997 to 2006 and the first to emerge from the ranks of the United Nations. The annual Kofi Annan Dag Hammarskjöld Memorial Lectures was instituted to recognize the important roles played by both Mr. Annan and Mr. Hammarskjöld in the area of peacekeeping and conflict resolution. This year's is the 4th in a series to be organized by the Kofi Annan Peacekeeping Training Center. Speaking on the topic, the future of peace and security in Africa, implementation and impact of recent reviews of UN peace operations, the former special representative to the United Nations Secretary General for Liberia, Mrs. Karen Landgren, stated that Dag Hammarskjöld wanted the United Nations to be an instrument for change in the world. Ms. Landgren added that conflict could be prevented by forging strong regional organizations and strengthening of institutions.
The 2015 reviews of UN peace operations, of sustaining peace, and of women in peace and security are rich in reflections and recommendations. They recognize that as the nature of conflict continues to change, the UN must change too if it hopes to remain true to its founding purpose, preventing and responding to the scourge of war. Now, with a change in leadership of the UN imminent, we must maintain the momentum of last year's peace and security reviews. Gatherings such as this will help to do so.
Other speakers at the forum expressed the need to foster peace and strengthen security in Africa.
A white Corolla salon car with registration number GW408316 has been involved in an accident. The accident occurred at a place called Block Factory, a suburb of Kaswa, injuring the driver and a passenger. An eyewitness who only gave his name as Jesse attributed the accident to overspeeding. Residents of the area are calling on the authorities to build speed ramps on the road to avoid accidents. You're watching News Hour Live on your all news channel, GBC24 and GTV. We'll be back shortly with some more stories.
Hello, good evening, and many thanks for joining us. This is the business segment of the news. I am Dorothy Ajimai. The Deputy Minister for Power, John Jinapo, has directed the Electricity Company of Ghana to audit its billing system and address the hike witnessed in its services. This comes on the back of several agitations by customers of ECG that what is being charged by the state utility company is above the 59% approved by the PURC. ECG customers in the past 4 months have been complaining about what they describe as excessive charges on their postpaid and prepaid meters. According to the customers, contrary to the announcement by the PURC that electricity tariff has been increased by 59.2%, what is happening on the ground is different. Some say the increment is in the region of 200% and finding it difficult to pay. This has resulted in customers of ECG besieging the offices of ECG to express their anger over these woeful deductions and charges. While the prepaid users argue that the credits literally vanish just after a few days, the postpaid customers say their new charges are just unbearable.
Your credit, you can credit 500,000. You tipo beta. Ko okete ambaka kaje wo shi mita na emmi mita yi credit e wole no na e wona bale.
The meter consumes the credit. ECG needs to rectify the problem.
At times when you go, they tell you you have a negative figure on your card, so they have to deduct that negative out of it, whereby the money that you were having cannot buy up to that 40 again.
Auto 60 Ghana cedis 1 week. And in a month, we talk about 240 Ghana.
The amount we use for buying electricity is too unbearable.
Salary no more. Now we're second in asa. And I know I was a from kakra a mancrofu.
They are appealing to the authorities to find solutions to these discrepancies because it's eating deep into their pockets.
How can we owe on a new meter? It is just unfair.
Yes, we require a network. Kofu to me salaries. Now cry because I didn't know more than to say prepaid card, electricity. Nam kromo awato, scratch here, bono mana now the guswa nanka aba. But we be jumo be do fie miti central region kaswa. Tam me do fie na chese me fie ni nyina yesum. Till the next day because he bought 8 o'clock per omwapon.
However, the Deputy Minister for Power, John Jinapo, says the ministry is looking into these issues and any customer who is cheated by the system would be refunded.
We are doing a full audit of the ECG system, and I want to assure everybody that we shall address that challenge. We want to ensure that you are billed according to what the PURC has gazetted. And if you are overbilled, there shall be a refund. And the process is ongoing. And so those of you who are still having challenges, please rest assured the Power Ministry, PURC, Energy Commission, and ECG, as well as NEDCO, we are working around the clock, auditing the system and ensuring that everybody is billed properly.
He said they have also set up a task force to deal with illegal connection in the system.
You cannot have a system where you increase tariffs. One segment of society is paying, the other segment is not paying. That results in an imbalance. And so if the task force comes to your premises or comes to your company, please cooperate with them. They have the full support of the Power Ministry. And it might interest you to know that just last week alone, through that exercise, they realized an amount of about 36 million cedis. And so it tells you that we can do a lot of work, and we intend doing that.
For now, customers of ECG are waiting on the Power Ministry to resolve the problem on time. The Agricultural Development Bank, ADB, has presented a 3-bedroom, fully furnished house to the 2014 National Best Farmer, Mr. George Asamoah Mankwa, at Manson Kwanta in the Ashanti region.
Mr. George Asamoah Mankwa, a farmer from the Tano South District of the Bunahafu region, was adjudged the 2014 National Best Farmer. The norm is that winner of the annual award is given a house fully furnished by the Agricultural Development Bank, ADB, at a preferred location. The 2014 National Best Farmer opted to have his 3-bedroom house at Manson Kwanta in the Ashanti region. After 1 year, the ADB has completed the building and fully furnished it. The 40,000 Ghana cedi building has burglary-proof doors, living room furniture, a water storage tank with a wall built around it. Presenting the keys to the building to Mr. Mankwa, the board secretary of the ADB, Mr. James Agbedo, said the gesture had become a heritage of the bank and pledged to continue to support the national award scheme.
That this gesture would motivate others in the farming industry to dedicate all their efforts to getting it right, because our cherished bank would always be there to support you. Indeed, our support is not only to donate a 3-bedroom, fully furnished house, but also to support your production and indeed the value chain.
The Minister for Food and Agriculture, Alhaji Muhammad Muniru Limuna, said the presentation of the building and other awards are aimed at motivating farmers.
We hope that this gesture would energize you to expand your business in order that you may absorb many more of the idle hands in our community.
Mr. Asamoah Mankwa commended the government and the ADB for the award and called for support to farmers, especially smallholder farmers, to increase their contributions towards national development.
It would be better not to import food at all. I will urge my fellow farmers that they should not stop thinking otherwise. They should go ahead and be focused.
The National Best Farmer Awards has been instituted to acknowledge farmers and fishermen for their efforts at feeding the growing nation, providing raw materials to the nation's industries, and contributing substantially to the nation's foreign exchange earnings.
On the interbank markets, the cedi is trading at 5 cedis 51 pesos against the pound sterling. Against the dollar, the local currency is trading at 3 cedis 83 pesos. Light crude and gold dipped by 74 cents and $5.30 respectively. Cocoa, however, appreciated by $65 to sell at $3,060 per ton. Coming up is the board. This segment was brought to you by Airtel and Ernest Chemist. Insurance news is next. The Minister for Private Sector Development, Rashid Pelpo, is advocating for insurance cover that will serve as a guarantee for loans from financial institutions to the SME sector of the country. In an interaction with players in the insurance industry, Mr. Pelpo said the SME sector forms about 90% of the private sector, and having an insurance will serve as a guarantee for their loans and reduce the risk associated with the sector.
If in the absence of a guarantee, which we even face as a nation, you can have an insurance of this nature that will give confidence and comfort to the borrower, to the financial institutions giving the money. And that's the role, the one key role we will expect the insurance companies to perform, because you are risk bearers. You share the risks of people. You have identified the fact that risk bearing is a key element in our everyday lives, and that because people cannot continue to bear their own risks, you want to share the risks with them, but we want to do so with some premium, and that is the point we want to cut in to make sure that when our SMEs cannot provide the needed collateral, they can fall back on the insurance companies who will give them legs to walk and which will give them the needed muscle to be able to attract funding. It is the same role that the Exim guarantee can provide, a situation where government can also provide a backup funding for people who borrow money to fall onto. And the insurance companies can work with them, because in this enterprise, it must be a win-win situation. It's not going to be a single initiative. It's going to be a multi-sectoral enterprise.
The insurance news was brought to you by SIC Life. We do appreciate your company. We'll be back after this break.
Good evening and many thanks for joining us on the midweek edition of the health segment. My name is Evans Echampon. Now, management and staff of the 37 military hospitals say the facility still accepts NHIS cards, contrary to news on social media that the hospital is rejecting NHIS card holders who visit the center for emergency treatment. The Armed Forces Director of Public Relations, Eric Agrikwashi, said the hospital has not issued any statement in that regard. He says referral patients with the NHIS cards can visit the center when necessary.
Recently, news on social media was that the 37 military hospital was not attending to patients with NHIS cards, When the National Health Authority, NHIA, got wind of the matter, they intended to follow up and ascertain the truth from the hospital authorities.
This is to clarify that it was a hoax and there was nothing like that, and people who they are referred to the 37 military hospital on the account of the NHIS, they should feel free and attend and have their health care restored.
Management of the hospital said they have been treating referral cases with NHIS cards and that the news on social media is not true. The hospital, however, rejects patients who seek primary health care. The Armed Forces Director of Public Relations, Eric Agrikwashe, said the 37 Military Hospital is a specialist hospital that provides health services, including NHIS services.
You've seen for yourself, the patients are here, and I think this should bring to a close the issue of military hospital rejecting people with NHIS card. But the problem is that there are some who don't still understand that you can't just wake up from your house when you have a slight headache to come and report sick here. You have to go to a primary facility first for you to be referred, because this is a referral hospital.
A patient, Zainab Seidu, attested to the fact that the 37 Military Hospital still accepts the NHIS cards.
I have already been taken care of. I use my NHIS card. I use it anytime I come here.
37 Military Hospital is the second largest medical facility in Accra and third largest in the country after Kwalebu Teaching Hospital and the Komfanochi Teaching Hospital.
Now, the fight against guinea worm, elephantiasis, Buruli ulcer, and leprosy seems to have been won in most African countries, including Ghana. However, experts at the University of Ghana say these diseases can still be found in the rural areas. They are therefore calling on governments on the continent to step up efforts to reduce the prevalence of these diseases, which are referred to as neglected tropical diseases.
Neglected tropical diseases are a diverse group of diseases which are very common in rural areas in most African countries, especially among those below the poverty line. The disease can be caused by a variety of pathogens such as bacteria, virus and protozoa. In Africa, some common forms of neglected tropical diseases include Buruli ulcer, guinea worm, leprosy and elephantiasis. In several African countries, guinea worm, Buruli ulcer among others, have had a negative effect on their economic well-being, and it is in this regard that the University of Ghana has launched a book entitled Neglected Tropical Diseases, Sub-Saharan Africa. The Vice-Chancellor of the University of Health and Allied Sciences, Professor Fred Binka, urged political leaders, researchers and academicians to pay close attention to neglected tropical diseases to eradicate them totally.
It is therefore critical that the political and health leaders of Africa, the African continent, pay close attention to these diseases that have been documented by these two eminent scientists.
Launching the book, an advocate for lifestyle issues and a former director of the Ghana Health Service, Professor Ajumabedu Akosa, advised Ghanaians to keep their surroundings clean and practice personal hygiene to avoid contracting neglected tropical diseases.
We've gone from poor and clean to poor and dirty. And even respectable Ghanaians do not mind standing for hours near a heap of rubbish.
The book was written by 42 African writers and has 17 chapters and 420 pages.
And still in the health news, the Ghana Health Service is strengthening surveillance at all health facilities to ensure that reported cholera cases are given the needed attention. This follows a cholera alert issued by the Ghana Health Service on the heels of a cholera case recorded at the Achimota Hospital in the Greater Accra region. The Greater Accra region is especially at risk because of the insanitary conditions in the capital coupled with the onset of the rains. Earlier, we spoke to the National Coordinator for Cholera Prevention Control, Mr. Emmanuel Duchi, on the outbreak.
When you buy things on the street, you are at high risk. Okay. Because the person selling on the street is on the street 24 hours. He doesn't have access to water, soap to wash the hands. So he's just picking, giving to you. So he's just selling the cholera, apart from the food or water is sold to you. He's also selling the cholera to you.
So when you buy, what should you do?
You should not buy in the first place. Because on the street, it's not meant to purchase food or water to take on the street.
But it is common.
Yes, that is the habit that we have to try to stop. Because even assuming you are setting out from home, you know that your journey that you take you about maybe
2 hours.
2 hours.
You should have your water on.
Yes, you can get your water in a bottle, put in your bag.
What about buying the water and using the same water in the sachet to clean it before you drink?
No, the person giving you the water is contaminated because he or she may not have washed their hands before picking the sachet water and giving it to you. We are looking at all the intervention areas. The first and foremost is detecting the case early. That is, we are strengthening our surveillance system.
Okay.
That means that every health facility, which is under the Ministry of Health, when you come with diarrhea, immediately we do what you call a cholera rapid diagnosis test. Test whether you have the cholera or not. If you have it, immediately you are contained, you are treated. So there are measures put in place to do that. And then there are medicines put in place to treat you.
And now the eating of eggs the world over generates a lot of controversy on a daily basis. While some say the cholesterol level of eggs is high, others too are of the view that it is low and healthy. The Poultry Farmers Association in Ghana support the latter view and says the impression created that eggs are not healthy is a misconception and should be discarded.
The poultry industry in Ghana is one of the major pillars of the agric sector. It is said to contribute over 30% of gross domestic product (GDP). However, there are challenges confronting the production of eggs, distribution and consumption in the country. This, coupled with the increase in the importation of eggs, is gradually crippling the industry. The development has forced many poultry farmers to switch to other businesses. But for those who are still in the poultry business, the solution to the challenges lies in forming alliances and embarking on an aggressive advocacy and marketing.
High interest rate and marketing is very low. So if you are able to do this, I think it will increase the market level and poultry farmers will be okay, because egg is the only source of income for the poultry farmer.
Egg consumption is said to be largely consumed by the urban elite, upper income group, and very few lower income groups. On a yearly basis, only between 12 to 18 eggs are consumed by a person due to the myth surrounding the daily consumption of eggs.
The recent research on egg has cleared the myth of cholesterol, and the current update had indicated that cholesterol is not considered for a nutrient of concern for overconsumption. When looking into common characteristics of healthy diets, egg must be a focus due to its numerous nutrients which the body needs for good health.
The stakeholders hope not only to increase their market share, but also to erase all the erroneous impression about eggs consumption. They say eggs are listed along vegetables, fruits, whole grains and fish foods that are naturally rich in vitamins, minerals and low in solid fats. Eggs are loaded with nutrients which are very rare in any diet. Studies show that a whole egg contains all the nutrients needed in a meal. For GBC24, Shelley Annan reporting.
And that's all we have for you by way of health news tonight. News Hour continues right after this break.
Welcome back. And in news just in, barring any unforeseen circumstances, Sen Power Generation Company Limited will add an additional uninterrupted 350 megawatts of power to Ghana's stock of power by September next year. Construction of the independent power production plant is 42% complete, with innovative technologies introduced to make Sen Power the leading IPP in the country. The Vice President, Kwesi Arthur, who inspected the rates of work, was confident that Ghana is on its way to leaving power rationing to history. A story by Nuto Bibini Nuto.
As at January 2015, when Vice President Kwesi Arthur had come to Boom to cut the sod for construction work to begin on the $900 million Sen Power Generation project, Ghana was facing unprecedented energy crisis, with the promise of the independent power producer adding 350 megawatts to Ghana's energy stock by September 2017. Optimists heaved a sigh of relief. 15 months down the lane, energy experts working on the project can point to real development of about 42%.
We have also had close to 800,000 man-hours working, and I'm happy to announce that by the grace of God there has been no single accident.
A lot of planning went into the project, for which reason it stands out among the stock of independent power producers in the country. It includes a 3-kilometer gas pipeline connected to the West African gas pipeline, making the project not dependent on gas from government. It also has a substation being constructed for the evacuation of power to those on the distribution chain. The novelty is a tunnel boring machine being introduced into the country by an independent power producer for the first time. The machine was test run to show its efficacy and readiness to produce and monitor progress of work. With all of these in place, the major works are done, making management of Sen Power Generation confident of meeting the September 2017 deadline for their first production. Vice President Kwesi Arthur was impressed with the innovative technologies employed.
We have seen this the tunnel boring technique, and hope that people are also learning, and it is introducing new technology and will transfer, hopefully will transfer technology to the people who work in it, and so we'll be able to utilize that technology in the development of pipe laying for the water system and for electricity and so on. You've seen the way even the power evacuation, allowing for them to evacuate the power from this project as well as from the expansion of the Sonon Asogli project. So that it's all integrated. There's a certain coherence, the projects that are being done that make sense, and also the way in which this project is using seawater for cooling, because that has been one of the problems in some of the thermal energy projects in this country.
With 90% of employees drawn from the community, the Greater Accra Regional Minister, Nilai Afotiagbo, was happy it had reduced the spate of unemployment in the area.
The pressure with unemployment from the youth is now coming down, but I'm more than impatient and so yearning to see the companies at least getting to their peak, so that at least they can absorb or maybe take about 90% of the youths who have this unemployment problem.
Sen Power Generation Company Limited uses multiple fuel and does not depend on government for the provision of gas to power its plants. Nto Bibinimto, GBC24, Boom.
In the international segment, a number of students have been arrested at South Africa's Rhodes University following protests that allegations of rape on campus are not taken seriously. Police have used a pepper spray and stun guns on the third day of protests to try to disperse students, some of whom demonstrated to topless on Tuesday. A list of alleged campus rapists was leaked on social media on Sunday by the student group angered by assaults. The university has suspended lectures and set up a tax team to investigate.
And in South Sudan, the peace deal in that country is at risk after the failure of rebel leader Riek Machar to return to the capital, Juba. The monitors who brokered the agreement have warned he had been due on Monday to take up the post of first vice president in the new unity government. Now, this is a key part of the deal aimed at ending more than 2 years of conflict. The U.S. said it was disappointed by Mr. Machar's decision not to abide by his own commitments. His team said the delay was caused by logistical and administrative issues and that the plan to return on Wednesday foiled. A statement from the government on Tuesday has said Mr. Machar's return was delayed as he wanted to come with an arsenal of arms.
The Indian government has told the Supreme Court that 330 million people are affected by drought in the country. It said that nearly 256 districts across India, home to nearly a quarter of the population, were impacted. Authorities say this number is likely to rise further, given that some states with water shortages have not yet submitted status reports. India is heavily dependent on monsoon rains, which have been poor for 2 years in a row. The drought is taking place as a heat wave extends across much of India, with temperatures exceeding 40 degrees Celsius for several days now. Schools have been shut in the eastern state of Orissa, and more than 100 deaths due to heat stroke have been reported from across the country. And that's it in the international segment. We'll be back shortly with sports.
Hello, good evening. Time for us to get active. I'm Theophilus Sampa. Let's start off from the Ghana Premier League Match Day 8 action that took place this afternoon. And Accra Sports Stadium, Hasselfolk played a 1-1 draw with West Africa Football Academy Wafa in one of the matches of the Day 8 encounter at the Accra Sports Stadium. Wafa were the first to score, but the Phobians recovered in the second half through Cosmos Dauda to end the encounter. 1-1 will bring you some highlights. So the Premier League and Dreams FC this afternoon recorded their first home defeat of the season. They lost by a lone goal to Kumasi Asante Kotoko. Dauda Mohammed scored Kotoko's goal through a penalty after referee decided the Dreams FC defender handled the ball in the penalty area. I'll bring you some highlights. So bringing you more updates tomorrow as and when we get the videos and also the standings after match day 8. Now, 25 players have been invited by the home base to camp in the Black Stars base. They are to prepare for an international friendly against Japan. The encounter has been scheduled for Wednesday, May 11th, and the players expected to report in camp on Monday include goalkeepers Richard Ofori from Wa All Stars, Robert Dabu from Ash Gold, and Montari Tego from Mediama SC. The defenders include Hafiz Adams from Wa All Stars, Amos Frimpong from Asante Kotoko, Abdul Bashir from Dreams FC, Daniel Dakwe Duana Stars, Kadri Mohammed, Ash Gold, Abdul Ganyi Wa All Stars, Ahmed Adams, Asante Kotoko, and Nicolas Sopuku from Brekum Chelsea. The midfielders include Gokel Ahato From Interallies, Isaac Chum, Interallies, Eric Kwakwa, Mediama, Esekweku, Asunzi, Wa All-Stars, Sabanlai, Hatsufuk, Latif Blessing, Liberty Professionals, Emmanuel Ukran, Wa All-Stars, Samuel Tete Wafa, Evans Mensa, Interallies, and Emmanuel Oseba for Ash Code. For the attackers, it's Sadiq Adams, Brekum Chelsea, Richard Arthur from Wa All-Stars, Musa Ibrahim from Accra Hatsufuk, and Lawson Bekwi from Dreams FC. The senior national men's sevens team, the Eagles, have started their first phase of preparations for this year's West Africa International Men's Sevens Tournament. The championship has been set for the 28th of May in Lome, Togo. The senior national rugby sevens team, the Eagles, have commenced the first phase of preparations for the upcoming West Africa Men's International Rugby Sevens Championship in Accra. A three-man technical team made up of coach of Congress RFC, Simba Mangana, Cosmos Buffalo's coach Amuzilo Salim, and coach of Griffons RFC, Clement Dennis, have given call-ups to 25 players. They are expected to pull down the number at the end of the month before zooming into the phase 2 of their preparations. The team has been training 3 times in a week at the Osusalem Park and the University of Ghana League on Rugby pitch on Mondays, Thursdays and Saturdays in the mornings and afternoons. Countries to battle the Eagles include host Togo, Burkina Faso, Benin, Mali and Niger. After a successful 2015-2016 league season, all eyes are on the technical team to select the best to form a formidable team for the competition. That's all for sports.
Hello, good evening. Time for some entertainment news. My name is Valerie Danso. The Du Bois Center is to be upgraded to a status that befits the Pan-Africanist and a prolific writer William Edward Bogart Du Bois. The Ministry of Tourism and Creative Arts is leading the move to help improve facilities at the center, which has been attracting students and tourists from across the globe. The Du Bois Center was established to promote the works of a civil rights activist, William Edward Bogart Du Bois. Du Bois changed his nationality in the 60s and is known as the father of Pan-Africanism. The center, where he and his wife once lived and where they are now buried, houses his personal library, a small museum with a handful of personal effects, such as his graduation robes. However, the center, which has been attracting students, academics, civil rights activists, and tourists, has not received a facelift for years. To ensure that the Du Bois Center continues to be one of Ghana's beehives for tourists, the Ministry of Tourism and Creative Arts, together with other stakeholders, have met in Accra to give the center a new look. The sector minister, Mrs. Elizabeth Ofoswe-Jari, said the museum is dear to the government because its international status cannot be underestimated.
It is my cherished dream that this workshop will come out with a coded report and strategies for the redevelopment of the center. The institutions and personalities that have been assembled here by the organizers have carefully been chosen, and we are expecting a very solid document that will need the support of all worldly Pan-Africanist philanthropists and all those who share the Pan-Africanist vision of Dr. Du Bois and Dr. Sadiko Kwame.
William Edward Bogart Du Bois was born on February 23, 1868. One of his famous sayings is, "The cost of liberty is more than the price of repression." The atmosphere in the GBC24 newsroom is always busy, with eyes of reporters and editors firmly fixed on their computers to prepare the news menu for the day. But it was all fun when stars like Kofi Adjololo, Ekos Asante, Adjos and Ngozi Zienu walked into the nerve center of the state broadcaster.
Thank you very much, Eunice, and that's all in this news package. We will be back with news tonight.